Nothing. Yes. Can I have, please, the violas, the pick up to 48, everyone. Because of the economics of the rehearsal problem in the United States, you're always facing the situation of, from the beginning, realizing that there really isn't adequate rehearsal time. That is to say, to go through and to really go through each part separately and make everything just perfectly the way you would, let's say, if it were a piano piece, if you were learning it, you'd really deal and work out each little part, each little moving voice separately. But in this kind of rehearsal situation, you're in the position of working out certain specific places and then hoping that by example or by connection that the material in between these places will more or less take care of itself. As a very small child, I played by ear. I just would hear things and then I would play them. Then I began to have lessons which were really of a very rudimentary kind when I was about 8 years old. But when I really began seriously, that was when I was 10, and I studied with a woman by the name of Dorothy Bishop. And she did two very good things. She disciplined me greatly, which I needed, but at the same time, she continued to encourage me to experiment. Teaching is a great challenge because you have to try to make coherent in a verbal form a lot of things that you may have always just generally felt. Very often you find out much more clearly for yourself what things you really believe. You're lousing this up. You must use pedal here, because if you do that, you completely deny what's happening in the right hand. It's a long note. But still, I hear no separation at all. When you use pedal, it just sounds like blah, blah. Okay. Don't depend on the pedal for that. Use your hands for it. Okay, but now I have to have a slight more emphasis of the third note in the bar, because otherwise it sounds like the pulse is off. Yes, that's too much, obviously. With all my students, what I really try to get them to do is to supply interpretive impetus. So very often I'll say, yes, 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 well, you can play this section, but it's not focused. It doesn't mean anything. You've got to come up with some idea to make it mean something. So that very often they wind up playing pieces differently from the way I would play them, maybe. But that's fine, because that's what I'm trying to teach them in the first place. Now here, the other place. I studied conducting with Ingolf Dahl. Dahl has the ability to be able to play at the piano the scores so well that he can criticize your conducting at the same time that he's playing the music. And also he has marvelous ideas based on a great deal of performing experience about how a certain section can be handled or problems to watch out for. I like it better. Bum, bum, bee. That's sustaining the accent out over the bar. Rhythmically, I like that better.
Yes.
I
don't think that's what Beethoven meant. Look. Always leans to the downbeat. Yes. Always leans to the downbeat. And I'm convinced that here he also leans to the downbeat because of harmonic reasons. It becomes a dissonance. And so the dissonance is the most expressive interval, therefore one has to lean on it and toward it.
There's like a steam bath in here. Shall I turn off this kettle?
Oh, yes.
My parents are both very much interested in the arts. My father is a self-taught musician. He doesn't read music, but he can play virtually anything he wants to by ear. And my mother, who is now a teacher and who was for many years in research for magazines and movies, has a very large background, especially in the humanities. And so it's been a very interesting environment in which to grow up.
Can you imagine what he said to his family when he got home about the experience?
My big first interest was crystallography. I think that my perception of music is very, very much influenced by those years that I spent involved in crystallography and in forms. Maybe the most fascinating are these type of perfect, large crystals. The symmetry is so perfect, the molecular lineup is so perfect that you can even see the polarization of the light in different planes inside of the crystal. There have been a lot of analogies made, between crystals and new music, certain kinds of new music, and that a crystal has a very, very definite shape, but you can't say what face of the crystal is the first one. They don't go in any specific order. In the same way, there could be possibly a work of art constructed in which it has an integrity, but exactly the way you choose to view it at any given moment is your own decision. The funny thing is about conducting, really, there's not that much that you have to do in terms of what you have to do with your hands. You have to learn to beat. That's not so difficult. Much, much more difficult is learning how to learn the music in the first place. Learning how to sit down with a piece of music that's written out for orchestra and learn it. Learn the notes and learn the way they're distributed amongst the instruments and the way it should sound. Then the process begins, which unfortunately no way has been developed yet of avoiding. And that is sitting down at the piano and pounding out every note in the piece. All sorts of people think they can learn pieces by playing phonograph records. You absolutely can't, because the music is just playing on that record, and what goes by, of course, the notes go by, so you think, aha, well, I know that passage. You don't know anything. The only way is to sit down and start playing from the score. And that's what you do, and you go through it again and again. And you begin to think, now, how does this piece really go? What do I have to do to make it work, to make it clear? That's the answer now. There are no violins in it. It is for winds and only violas, cello, and basses. So what's missing? Second oboe, primarily. Okay. Okay. Seven. My right hand has the task of indicating the pulse, the basic rhythmic unit, to the orchestra. and also by the manner in which the beat is given, the character of the musical material at that particular moment. Also by the size of the beat in the right hand, that conveys a sense of how loud, how soft, how violent, or how quietly the music should be going on. Now, Tim. There was a time when it was considered you should never use the left hand, or almost never. But gradually, music became more and more complex. The left hand began to be used more and more to cue, to give a player his specific entrance, to control dynamics and expression. But what one tries to do as a conductor is to keep the left hand from being a mirror of the right hand, so that you keep it as independent as possible. A lot of the time, you can say to the orchestra, think, what kind of music is this? Like looking at a violist and saying, what is that? What is your role here? And they look at their music and they see that they have nothing but just repeated eighth notes, and so they think, well, this is accompaniment, so maybe I shouldn't be playing it as if it were the dominant idea of the piece. And usually those simple admonitions are enough to rectify whatever problem exists. Because the players have marvelous instincts, but it's a very difficult thing to concentrate over the whole duration of a rehearsal. Wins, you must cover the entire orchestra in bar 172, that crescendo. Enormous, and I think more staccato too on those notes. Good. Will the horns, flutes, and oboes in bar 201 mark meno forte or piano on those chords? The clarinet and the cello have to work too hard to be heard. The only thing I would like to ask for the strings is the first eighth note that you have in this piece. Not fast. Please put some eyeglasses if they aren't there. Brahms thought of it very much as an outdoor piece, which is why it's nice to be doing it in Ojai. He went walking in the woods, and he had this whole experience of reacquainting himself with nature after his long stays in Vienna. So it's very nice to be doing it in this very bucolic bowl with all of its old trees. Today I'm allowed to put my car down here, considering my August status. Wow, some of the musicians are even here early. It's unheard of.
Over this way? Yeah, it should be centered.
Center the two chairs with the quote, with the conductor's bed.
Oh, no,
Eight
isn't that
notes.
8? 2, 4, 6, 8, that's right. And
Yes, 3 brass, that's all right.
and over here,
Four
I
stands.
want 1, 2, 6 cellos and 4 brass, that's right.
Is it your experience that the sound is better when they're out on the edge?
Mike, there are 40,000 different opinions if you have 4 people. I don't know.
What stands to reason it would be better when it's further back, doesn't it?
I don't think so. Then I get the shell.
So let's do that. 2 feet back. Ba-ba-bum, ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-dee-da-dee-da-da-da-ba-ba-bum. And I don't hear those two ideas separate enough yet. Okay. Beginning. That kills it wins. If the attack is heavy in any part on the second beat of the first bar, it's lost. Ba 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 on the second beat, yes. Ba ba bum ba da ba da ba ba bum ba da ba da. I know.
His 4 minutes to wrap the whole thing up. Does he know it?
In 361, there should be a crescendo going into the forte that's 2 bars later. So whatever happens in this crescendo before, don't give too much before 361 so we can have a little left for that. There's a certain budget which is allocated for every concert, and you can get behind in the rehearsal schedule someplace. And you try to keep making up that time, but sometimes you come down to the very last rehearsal and you just say, well, we have to have 15 minutes more rehearsal. It just has to be. And so then it represents a greater expenditure. And it's to the credit of the idealism of the Ojai Festival that they don't come on stage and say, stop, this is the end, but rather are willing to grant, more time.
It's only money. Mike?
Oh, there you are.
Excuse me.
Go get him, Mike.
Backstage, you just sort of wait for the right pulse to come along. And maybe these pulses are like 8 or 10 seconds apart. I don't know, but you just feel that now it's the time you should walk out on the stage. When you conduct a piece, you're mentally in several places at the same time. One part of your brain is always ahead, and sometimes several bars ahead, and you know what's coming next, and you're already giving preparations for what you want to have happen. Another part of your brain is right on the instant, indicating here there's a big accent, or here there's a continuous forte, or starting to have a decrescendo. But another part of your brain, I would say, is in the entire piece at once, and kind of taking stock of what's already happened and predicting what will happen next. You can kind of feel in the air as you conduct the way that the players are receiving the messages you're sending, a kind of plasticity in the ensemble. And when you can feel that, you know that things are okay, that things are moving along well. Like to have a life in which I can, at different times, be involved in different kinds of musics and in different ways. I'll always have to play, I mean, at least for myself. And no matter what kind of conducting I'm doing, I'll have to be involved in new music and keep finding out things and keep my sleeves rolled up and in the midst of things musically.
Thank you. It's really good. And only one rehearsal is really an achievement.
Now, wait a minute. Don't give me that kind of talk, Michael.
It's 1.5 rehearsals.
And what?
Overtime.
2.5 hours. One whole
Just 1
rehearsal
second,
on the
okay.
Brahms. Did you not?
I said one whole rehearsal.
Yeah. Usually people said I had one rehearsal, and it means I had a rehearsal of 2.5 hours, and I spent a half hour on the Debussy and a half hour on the Brahms.
No, but if you add up 4 or 5 different days of rehearsals, then you add up a half an hour at this time and a half an hour at this time.
13 hours of rehearsal on this program.